Oh, maybe. Maybe. Oh, crawfish. On a brim bed eating crawfish. He's confused. Brandon Cobb, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro here. This bait right here is probably won me more money over the years than any other bait. You saw me win the Elite Series on Lake Hartwell on it. I've won other tournaments on it. I caught him at Guntersville last year on it. This is one of my very favorite baits for the spring, but really all times of year, but especially the spring. This is a Zoom Fluke stick. And what I do with this bait, so you see it's just a stick style bait, but it's got this little tail on it. So I actually, when I'm throwing it this way, I don't use the tail. Pop that tail off. I like having the tail because when I rig it other ways, the tail is, it's a good, you know, enticer, but when I have it wacky wormed, I don't want it like that. So this is a wacky style rig. A lot of people use an O-ring. I don't. I like to hook the bait just right in the middle. Looks kind of dumb, but I feel like your hookup percentage is a lot better like that. So Berkley Fusion hook with a weed guard. So this weed guard here, I don't use a weed guard if I can get away with it, but I have made a lot of money over years actually throwing this bait in some heavier cover. So you saw at Guntersville last year, I was targeting bluegill beds with this, and it was heavy grass around these beds. But there's a lot of holes because a bluegill can make a hole in the grass essentially when they make their bed, and bass do the same thing, and just grass, the way it grows, has a lot of holes in it. So this bait can be a really effective, you see most people pitch in heavy cover like grass, but this bait can be a kind of a finesse presentation. I'll make long casts to these target areas such as holes in the grass, and I'll just pull the bait and let it fall in a hole, let it sink down really subtly. It's a very finesse style presentation, but I'll let it sink in these holes, reel it up, move it 20 feet to the next hole, let it sink again. It's kind of a different bait that fish don't see in these heavy like grass situations, especially very often, and it can get you a lot more bites than like a pitching style. And the key when you're throwing this, so I use your typical setup even when I'm fishing heavy cover with it. This is a rod I designed for it. It's called Hartwell Magic because it's the rod I won Hartwell on, and it's a medium action 610. It's just your typical spinning rod. I use lighter braid, 10 or 15 pound braid. This is 10, that's kind of my go-to with a 10 or 12 pound fluorocarbon leader. But, so with that finesse gear, you're fishing heavy cover when I'm talking grass, things like that, such as I was doing at Guntersville. It can be, you know, kind of hectic when you hook one, but what to keep in mind, this hook, these style hooks, these small circle style hooks like this, they keep the fish hooked pretty well as long as you don't pull the hook out. So what I do in these grass, when you hook a fish in this heavy cover, you just kind of lean into the fish, let them mire up in the grass and go get them. That's the whole key, is not to try to force the fish out of this heavy cover, whether it be wood or grass or whatever, but specifically grass. Just kind of let the fish mire up in the grass and they'll essentially quit fighting and they can't shake this little bitty hook loose. So you just let them mire up, go up there and get them with your hands rather than trying to force them out like you would flipping. But it's a really good finesse presentation that I've caught a lot of fish in heavy cover. It's a fun way to fish and it can get you a lot more bites that you would not have got on heavier gear.